Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've popped up on YouTube, so appreciate you guys for coming in already for the stream. It's been a while since I've done a stream as well. We used to be doing them every Saturday, and then I stopped. So it's been a while. It's been since before Christmas I last uploaded. So I hope that you guys had a lovely Christmas holiday and a lovely New Year. And all of that good stuff. And videos should be resuming again this coming week as normal. So that's at least something that I'll be up to. Today, I thought it would be nice just to do a little live stream because we haven't done one of these for a while. We have a few things to talk about. Of course, you saw the thumbnail and the title by clicking on this. So we are going to be talking again about the Odyssey because why not? It's fun to talk about the Odyssey. Interested to hear your guys' opinions on the Odyssey as well in the live chat. We have some new armor and things like that I'm going to show, and then we're just going to have also a little bit of a communal chat, which is always a fun thing to do. I really enjoy doing those with you guys live, at least somewhat live. I think I've got about a 17-second delay, unfortunately. But it should be okay. We should be able to manage with that. So we've already got 9 people, which is awesome. Thank you so much for being here already. We have a couple people in the chat. We've got 4 chats already. Hello, good evening. You're in the evening where you are. Excellent. That's a great way to end your evening, is watching me on YouTube. Great choice. We've got Benny. Hello, Benny. You should do another live stream, but with the Sparta Re-Examined gang. A little bit of bias there, but honestly, yeah, 100%. We should see if we can get the Sparta Re-Examined gang on a live stream. That would be fun. We really do need to work on bringing back that series. We've been talking about that for months, probably close to a year at this point. And we just haven't gotten around to organizing everyone together. But we have a couple ideas left that we want to do for that. Greetings from Edmonton. Thank you for being here. And cheers from Athens, Greece. We got all sorts of people here. That's absolutely amazing. Great to see that. First off, we're going to start off with a little bit of a showcase of new gadgets that I'm a little bit excited about. First up is actually something that isn't Greek. Blasphemous, I know. It's a new rondel dagger that I got. This is actually from Christmas, so I must have been a very good boy this year, and Santa gave me a very lethal weapon. So this is from Todd's workshop. It's the first piece of Todd's that I own, and it's really nice. It fits really nice in the hand. I love the sheath. Don't know if you guys can see. It's like a sort of emerald green color with a nice brass end. Really lovely rondel dagger. Very nice. So this is going, for those of you that don't know, I am starting a late 14th century, early 15th century man-at-arms kit with a new group that I'm joining, the Company of the Black Spear. So I've been also building some more medieval stuff, and on the channel I'm excited because we're going to be doing some more sort of ancient versus medieval comparison type things, which I really enjoy doing. I think it's cool to compare armors, of course, that were similar but also very different, and why they're different. So I like doing videos like that. And I have got the one and only amazing, perhaps the best helmet of all time, a Pilos helmet. This is an interesting helmet. I never used to like these, and now I love them. I love the simplicity. They're one of the most famous and iconic helmets, especially for the Peloponnesian War, and I've yet to have gotten one. So this was made for me by Liber Steel Crafts, and overall really happy with it, especially the fit. Maybe I'll put it on later. Maybe whilst we're critiquing the Odyssey, some people that join are like, what the heck is this weirdo doing? But very happy with this. So this will be, again, something cool. There'll be a new video coming out soon on the Pilos helmet. And now I basically have helmets from every major era and their development. So we can be doing some more videos on helmet development over time with actual examples for pretty much most major helmet types used by the Greeks. So that's something I'm excited for. And if I'm able to go to Pylos in 2027, which is a little bit of a maybe right now, I'm going to be going full, stereotypical Laconian, and I'm going to be rocking the Pylos helmet. So helmet that I really actually quite like. a bit of a mixed bag. I think a lot of people don't like these helmets, and a lot of people do. I love them because of how simple but effective that they were. So that's something else new that I've got. You know what? We'll put it on now. We'll put it on now. Why not? Put my little felted Pilos hat in there. Now I can actually wear this with my glasses too. Isn't that stylish? Look at that. I think it looks just fabulous. Very, very happy with it. It fits really well. And I was actually going to add a chin strap. We sometimes see on archaeological finds a little drilled hole on each side. That was probably for a leather tie, but it actually stays on really well. I think I'm going to do this anyways, just in case. But yeah, so it's actually really, really nicely fitted. I'm very, very pleased with the fit of that. And now I've got a nice helmet here. And I've been ignoring the comments because I'm now in excited mode. Okay, man at arms. Indeed, the more proper term. Everyone always calls themselves a knight. Yes, I am. My impression is not going to be that wealthy. I suppose. See, people have different terminologies. I would maybe classify my kit as an armed man. So I'm probably on the lower echelon of the footman wealth. So I've got a bassinet. I've got a breastplate, and I've got gauntlets with a mail shirt, and that's all the armor that I have. So I'm sort of going the opposite of what I've done for the Greek stuff. So for the of course the Laconian panoply, I'm basically as fully armored as you can get. I'm stupidly rich in my ancient Greek impression, and now I'm representing someone who's a little bit more on the modest social status, which is always fun. I actually think that those narratives are more interesting to talk to the public for, especially at events as well. Is that sort of, I'm just sort of a guy who is now getting paid or getting told to go to war with my lord. So that's fun. And also it saves a lot of money because I don't have to buy a full harness. Let's see, what else have I missed here? Does it have a liner? Yes, so there's a felted Pilos hat that's worn inside the Pilos helmet. For those of you that don't know, the Pilos helmet actually is a metal version of the felted hat. We see a few different ancient Greek helmets that are metal versions of hats. I used to hate them, then I educated myself on them, and I have a great appreciation now. Yeah, exactly the same as me. Especially when I was younger, and I was like, why would you ever like that? It's just a cone. And the Corinthian helmet looks way cooler. And now I absolutely love the simplicity. But yeah, so I like those helmets. Are they my favorite to look at? No. Are they practical? Yes. Do I respect them historically? Yes. I overall now am a Pilos fan. But yeah, anyways. Did the Spartans cook soup in those egg helmets? We have a guest appearance from my girlfriend here who loves to ask amazing historical questions. Yes, they cooked lots of soup, Spartan blood broth, all of it would be cooked in that helmet, and then they'd put it on and they would marinate themselves with it. Effectiveness has a beauty all to its own. Yeah, I agree. And especially it's funny because I have friends, shocking, I know, and they are into all of these fantasy games and Elden Ring and stuff like that. And I found that lots of the armor and weapons and that looked silly because of just how huge they were. And we have very different aesthetics as to what looks cool and what doesn't. And I often stand by this, that like one of the things, and same with films, one of the things that I find that looks so ridiculous in films for me, which the Odyssey is a prime example, is armor that just looks like pointless, or like this is just ridiculous looking, like impractical or anything like that. Why does this have a gazillion spikes on it? That type of thing. Whereas other people find that cool. I really like as you sort of said, effectiveness has a beauty all to its own. So yeah, I agree. I agree with that a lot. Need to ask your tailor to make you a one-shoulder tunic for a Lacedaemonian Civil War outfit. Well, my tailor is me, so we'll see. Maybe. At the same time, I tend to prefer leaving my chest to the imagination as opposed to sharing it. Anyway, so do any of you guys have any updates? We used to always start these live streams long ago, last year. with a little bit of an update on what's coming on with me, what's coming up with you guys. And a lot of you guys are involved in reenactments and things like that. And yeah, so if any of you guys have anything that you're working on, of course, we've got with the Greek Phalanx, our debut event of the year, Military Through the Ages at Jamestown in Virginia, which is one of my favorite events of the whole year, except for the temperatures, because it's blimmin' cold at MTA. It's sometimes frosted over when you wake up in the morning and your toes are numb, which isn't very fun. But that's something that we've got coming up, so we're making some preparations there. It'll be the first time that I'm actually wearing the full archaic outfit there, which will be cool to do. So that's what we've got coming up as in our group, Military Through the Ages, which is a fun event. If any of you guys are somewhat local to that, I would highly recommend coming over and giving it a look. It's a whole day's worth, or even 2 days worth if you want to, of basically timeline. It's a timeline event from ancient Greece all the way to the modern military, and you go by each encampment and you can talk to everyone. Each group sort of has demos that you can do, or demos that they're doing and showing, stuff like that. So I'd very much like to see some of you guys there. I've got to meet a few of you there, actually, and now some of you are members of the Phalanx, which is really, really cool. Speaking as a Viking reenactor, I used to be obsessed with Aventails and Camels. I'm not familiar with that one, actually. What is a Camels? I'm probably being stupid. Anyway, it's different terminology. But years of fighting, I definitely have come to appreciate a basic unencumbered conical span and helm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing. Once you wear them, you also get a little bit of a different feel for them. And it's like, yeah, you know what? I actually marching around in Greece with an open face cone on my head is pretty preferable. I kind of like that. You mean you don't like the human spine helmet crest? Spoiler alert, not a massive fan, no, unfortunately. I'd like to try Greek reenactment, but I look like noodles escaping from a bag. Yes, unfortunately, Greek reenactment, for those of us who have non-ideal bodies, does put a lot to reveal. But as I've outlined in the previous video, ancient Greeks also had various different bodies. So, man, don't let that hold you back. It's a fun thing. The people in the group certainly won't be the ones that are judging you. People online like to, but people online like to do that a lot anyways. But man, we got people of all types of bodies in the ancient Greek reenactment world, and don't let that hold you back. Just training prep for the Vikings UK Major 1,000 Warrior Shield Wall in 2027. That is very exciting. That's very, very cool. Thousands. So that's one thing that I always find so funny, especially as someone who does ancient reenactment, who is, pretty much on the down low when it comes to the reenactment sphere. And especially for those of you that live in the UK, you guys can have, like the Tewkesbury Medieval Festival has like 2,000 reenactors to it. And we're like, what? You can get those numbers of people? But then, of course, you're also way closer together, and it's just like, oh, I'm going across the other end of the country. 6 hours later, you're there. Whereas for us, it's like 13-hour drive here and 10-hour drive there, and this one's only 8 hours away. But yeah, so that's awesome. You got a 1,000 Warrior Shield Wall. That will be very, very cool to see. I hope that you enjoy that. What type of training are you doing for that? I wonder what that prep is. Never had the pleasure to have my own armor. I simply made a lot shield crest for friends since I work for the Rome Total War. Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, the armor thing, it's like, that's one of the things that I try and do with my videos, is it's very hard for someone who hasn't worn the armor to try and understand what it's like to wear the armor. And that's one of the things I'm actually, that's actually something else that's exciting, is I've written an article for Ancient Warfare magazine that will be releasing in February, I'm pretty sure. And it's a sister article to Paul's article on archaic warfare. You guys all know Paul if you've watched the channel. So he's writing an article on basically archaic warfare, how we think that looked and functioned. And I've done an accompanying side piece on basically the intricacies of the archaic armor, what it's like to move in the archaic armor, stuff like that. And that's always something, you saying that I never had the pleasure to have my own armor. it's something that we've really tried in these articles to write in a way that can, just give you a feel for what it might be like if you haven't yet been able to wear your own. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. That's the first time I've spoken about this publicly, but I am very, very excited about that. And I'll let you guys know the release and all of that when it comes out. If you're interested, I highly recommend checking out Ancient Warfare anyways. Great magazine. Let's see. Yeah, another opportunity wasted with those ridiculous costumes. Yeah, going back to the Odyssey. Again, we'll talk about that more in depth very, very soon. I've done a couple of videos, 4 now, I think, on the Odyssey. There'll be one more coming because, heck, why not? And yeah, it's so far in the right direction in some ways, and it's very disappointing in the other. Yes. Anyways, Ancient Warfare magazine rocks. I'm really, really glad that you think so. I think Ancient Warfare is great, and they have other magazines as well of the same publisher. What they have, Ancient History magazine, Ancient Warfare magazine. Do they have a medieval magazine as well? If anyone likes military history or anything like that, definitely go and check out Ancient Warfare. Really, really worthwhile. I hear someone else in your group is doing an article about the economy and social status in the archaic period. Is that right? I wonder who that might be. I'll be excited to read that one as well. The 1000 Warrior Shield Wall. Lots of sparring and formation work with my group. A solid half dozen of us are looking to fly to the UK. Shield Wall drills and training with dull steel. Not Burhurt, though. That sounds really, really cool. And that's something that we also try and, interpret when we're doing our tests. And we can muster, in Greece, close to 100 people. But then you realize that some of these actual historical formations were, thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people. The whole logistical side of that becomes far harder to try and perceive. So being able to actually test that with 1,000 people is really, really cool. Very, very cool. And that's in 2027. So hopefully, once that happens, hopefully we'll be doing another live stream, and then you can tell me all about that, because that sounds really, really cool. Modern media really skews the image of ancient and medieval bodies and builds. Yeah, we have this idea that every single ancient person was an Olympic champion. And just in terms of realistic anthropology, that is not the case. Right? Wealthy people like to exercise, but wealthy people also like to eat as well. And in fact, we even have, for instance, Etruscan tombs. One of the signs that these people are wealthy is that they look chubby. We have poets making fun of aristocrats for being pale and overweight. We have artistic depictions that show wrestlers being, bulky but fat. They're not shredded. We have plenty of people would have been skinny. Plenty of people would have been muscular. Maybe not to the extent that we have today, right? Lots of modern foods and lifestyles have changed and maybe caused more people to be a little more overweight today. But the idea, that anyone who's slightly overweight is an unrealistic hoplite is not true at all, and it's not even backed by ancient artworks. So, people just always like to. People always like to be rude to you for whatever they can. And again, for I can't remember which one of you said earlier that you love to try ancient Greek reenactment, but you look like noodles sticking out of a potato bag. Just give it a go, man. It'll be a lot of fun. There are all sorts of people that get into this stuff. The funny thing is, such magazines never existed here in Greece. Yeah, Greece is weird. I've been to Greece a couple of times. And of course, you guys are built massively on tourism and preserving ancient sites and everything. Yet it seems that the Greek authorities themselves are really hesitant to allow anything ancient Greek to pass. I was even talking to Olga from Hellenic Revival, who helped organize our Trireme trip. And everything that she's tried to do officially, the Greek government has shut down. Even the marathon event back in 2011, 2015, which is on the beach of Marathon in a public space, so people are allowed to do stuff. The authorities tried to forcefully turf them out. People I know have played the Hymn of Apollo at Delphi on the lyre, and they were told they're not allowed to do that because it's evoking the ancient gods. It's so weird. It seems to be that people of Greece love ancient Greek culture, But from my experience and other people that I know, the actual government itself is really, really quick to close down anything ancient Greek related, even though so much of your infrastructure is based on ancient Greece. I don't know. It's really, really weird. I'm not really sure their whole reasoning for doing that. The art behind you is nice. Thank you very much. This is mirrored for you guys, I think, because it's through my webcam. So it looks a little bit weird actually being mirrored. But this was a drawing that I did, gosh, back in when I was in high school. So I think it's 4 years old now. This was my first ever charcoal and chalk drawing that I did. So of course we were doing self-portraits, and I took it to the extreme. But thank you, I appreciate that. Can't stick around. Didn't know you did live streams, but I love the channel, bro. Good luck. I'll try to catch the next stream. Well, thank you very much. You probably already left because I've taken forever to get to your comment. Thanks very much. We were doing live streams every weekend, and then I stopped doing that for some reason. I don't even know why. But we'll see. We might bring them back. Might bring them back more regularly. Maybe not every week. Maybe every month or something like that. It's always fun to catch up on the lives. Let's see. Oh, on big formations in reenactment, controlling everyone is difficult. They either move too much or not enough. Always the wrong time. Yes, yeah, it's really interesting, and it really throws into perspective the logistics of these armies, and especially when we are talking about citizen soldier forces. Citizen soldier forces. It really puts into perspective of like these armies were not nearly as regimented as we often think. Like Xenophon even describes the Spartan drill as essentially just being a follow the leader, of just you follow the guy in front of you who follows an officer, and that officer follows the guy to the right. That type of thing, where each file has an officer, you follow the guy in front of you, and that file follows what the side of the right side does. And then, of course, you get very militarized groups like the Romans come in and they dominate warfare. But yeah, it's always really interesting when you actually put it into logistics and you have big amounts of people. Now, of course, when we even say untrained soldiers, these guys are still training more than us reenactors who maybe get together 5 times a year, but probably not very much. So it is always cool to think that, like, man, this battle had 100,000 hoplites here or whatever. What are the logistics of that? How are they operating? It's always really, really cool. Yeah, you really do rely massively on simply maintaining shield wall contact with your rank mates. Yeah, with Viking reenactment, there is a lot of personal initiative in how you break lines or hold ground. Yeah, it is interesting, and I think that's sort of how I would describe the Greek stuff as well. Is really you're trying to focus on staying in line with the person to your right, and the person to your left are trying to do the same. So you end up often with like one side you're sort of drifting like this, right? Like the right side leads, so the left side slightly follows, and then you straighten back up. But it is really interesting. I'm really looking forward to the reenactment in Pylos in 2027. I will be there. That's awesome. Yes, Pylos looks really, really great. Of course, our group organizer of the Greek Phalanx, Andrew, is one of the main organizers of this event. It does look really, really cool. I'm not sure yet if I will be able to go because it's the end of April and April 20th, so not quite the very end of April. And I may still be in classes at that time, which is unfortunate because I would really, really like to go. But we'll see. I'll hopefully get that schedule by September, which will give me time to book flights or whatever. So I'm hoping to be able to go to Pylos, but we will see. If not, I'm sure everyone else will still have an excellent event. It does look really, really cool. Thankfully, when was the last one? 2024, actually. Oh my gosh, 2 years ago now. The last Patea event. No, wait, 2020. Yeah, 2 years. Holy crap, that's wild. We did a little pre-tour. We did a week in Greece before the event, and we did a Peloponnesian tour with a smaller group of us. And that was a lot of fun. We got to go to Pylos. We went to Spacteria, the island where the Spartans got very famously beaten by all the Athenian peltasts. Climbed to the top of that and everything. That was really, really cool. So I thankfully have been able to sort of see, the beach that Brasidas rammed. Really, really awesome to see. Um, so cool to see, actually. And if I do go, if I am able to go, I will 100% be making a documentary. Um, Once again, last time I made the Thermopylae documentary, I would absolutely love to make the Battle of Pylos and Specteria documentary if I'm able to go. But right now, that is an if. It will just purely depend on exam schedule, really, because it's literally the end of that school year. So I'm really hoping, really hoping. Benny says, if you can't go, Benny won't be able to push back the Athenian tyrants by himself. Yes, you can, Benny. Have you seen those Athenians? Pff, weaklings. You'll be fine. Absolutely, line creep is real. Yeah, and the unevenness is deadly if the hinge breaks. Yeah, definitely. It is really interesting to test it with 10 people and then multiply that by 10, and it's really interesting to see how it works. But yeah, you're not just beat, they surrendered. Yeah, by reputation. Yeah, although they still remained a pretty prevalent military force after that. But yes, that certainly sent some ripples across the Greek world for sure. I do love it though when people try and use that battle as, and Benny will know who I'm talking about here without saying names. We'll try and use Spacteria as like a, see, the Spartans lost this battle and they lost Leucatra. And it's like, yeah, they also said to the Athenians, come and face us like men. And the Athenians said, oh no, we will continue throwing stones at you until you surrender. So you were using a non-hoplite battle to say, look at these guys, they weren't good at fighting as hoplites. And it's such a pathetic argument. I find it so funny. Same with Leucatra. You then take another battle, which is an atypical phalanx battle, in which they get beaten, and they use those two as like, see, the Spartans have these two crippling defeats. I just find it really funny when they're like, yeah, okay, do you want to look at the other, mass amounts? Do you want to look at Amphipolis, where like freaking 8 Spartans died and they crippled the whole Athenian force? You know, it's always funny when you get people that like to pick and choose their things to push that narrative. And actually, on the topic of the documentary, the Thermopylae documentary has just hit 50,000, which is great. And for those of you that haven't watched that documentary, I'd really appreciate it if you could. And I think that you really enjoy that. We went on site to Thermopylae. Roll Canidike's there, Ditch Guy. He's in the video, all sorts of stuff there. And we've basically gone to the original site and talked about the battle with reenactors and with special effects and all of that to the actual historical site. And we've done an on-site documentary. I released that video, must be over a year ago now, when this channel had less than 5,000 subscribers. So that video did quite well. It's at 50,000 views. Not to be, not happy with that, but I would really appreciate it, or be very happy if that video got more views, just because it is a full on-site documentary. It took months to actually create. So I was thinking, and I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about this, of once the snow is gone, because we're in a lovely Canadian winter right now, I was going to re-release this documentary now that the channel's over 50,000 subscribers as well, so hopefully it reaches more people, but update some of the stuff. So, with the new panoply that is more fitting for the Battle of Thermopylae, redo certain parts of the documentary, the arrow tests, redo it with the actual arrow test that we filmed against the shield, and basically release a Go Tell the Spartans, 2.0, that is fundamentally the same video, but has been updated, and the quality's been increased. So that's what I was thinking about doing, basically re-releasing the documentary in hopes that it gets more views and more people get to see it, but also by just increasing the quality of the documentary with a few of the presentations that are in it. So I'm curious to know what you guys think of that idea. Do you think that re-releasing that documentary with some updated clips and presentations in it would be good? Or do you think I should leave it? I'm leaning very much on the side of I would like to do that. Release an updated version. But I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. And I've just got to wait for that stream delay to kick in before you guys give me an answer. I wonder if you've read anything by Mark Knowles. I've just started Argo. The name doesn't ring a bell, so I'm gonna say no, probably not. But maybe I have, and I just haven't noticed the name, or I don't remember the name. But I don't think so. I don't think that I have. Can you do a video with each of your panoplies side by side? Ooh, that's a good idea. Have you walk out in your archaic, then early classical, then Peloponnesian? That would be a good idea. And actually, I've been planning on doing a video that's like my hot plate panoply after however many years, 10 years, whatever it's been that I've been collecting it. But yeah, I think that would be cool to do a side by side of like directly comparison of 550 BC, 500 BC, 450 BC, or whatever. That could be a good idea, actually. Thank you. Update it, definitely re-release it. Okay, that's good. That's good. I'm glad that you guys think that. I'm quite excited to refilm it, especially with the new panoply, because it is leagues above in quality from the older one that I took to Plataea. And it again is it is also modeled on a Spartan figurine, but it is just far more fitting for that period as well. So that's good. I'm glad that you guys think that's a good idea. That is good. I will definitely be doing that then. Okay, so we've already been live for 34 minutes, which is wild. I think it's time to get to the meat and bones of what probably you guys clicked on this stream for, which is the chat about the Odyssey. We will move on to that. Someone has recommended me a trailer, which I'd actually already seen, which is the Odyssey trailer, but where it was made to be accurate. It's an AI thing, but you know what? We'll still watch it. And I have some thoughts, and I'm going to be doing a separate video on this anyways. It's not in the live stream format, but I thought, hey, why not? Let's do a live stream as well, and then we can talk back and forth, share your guys' opinions on this. Let me just check this chat one more time. By the way, how much does it cost for a full panoply of yours in bucks? I mean, to create by your own, not buy it. My panoply, gosh, I'm not sure what it would be in USD. In Canadian, keep in mind that the panoply that I'm currently wearing now has been over a 5-year project. It's probably close to, let me quickly run through this in my head. A lot of it I make myself as well, so material costs in there. What? Probably close to 8 to 10,000 Canadian dollars for a full panoply that I've got. But this current panoply that I'm wearing as well is also of like top quality that I possibly could get. So I did go to some of the best armors in the world for this, so it is going to be far more expensive. You can build the panoply for far cheaper than that, and still have a good quality one. But I, worked 2 jobs throughout high school to buy this stuff, so it was sort of my main thing. Other kids were buying PS5s and new phones, and not me. I was buying armor as well. So who's got better aura, or whatever the kids say now? Definitely me. So, are you talking about forging and casting, or buying in parts? So both. So some of the stuff I make, typically I make all of the organic stuff for my armor, but the metals and stuff like that, the actual metal armors, are predominantly made by artists, different artisans across the world. But whereas like crests and shields and clothing and stuff like that, I make. But yes, so it can be a little bit expensive if you're going for the top quality route, which is what I decided to do for the archaic panoply. I don't sell my kidneys to get a panoply. Yeah, it is a lot. But again, this was made after 5 years. So when you take that into account, it's only about it's about $2,000 a year spent on it, if you want to average it like that. Which maybe isn't as bad. If anyone plays Warhammer, then you know what? Benny has to go and do chores. That is awful. I hope that you have a fun time. I was just doing chores actually before this live stream, so I feel your pain. Anyways, thanks for popping in, Benny. Nice to chat. And I'm sure I'll see you again or talk soon in our little group chats. You played Assassin's Creed Odyssey though, Adam. What platform? Yes, I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey when it came out in 2018 on my PS4. That's why I played that one on. Anyways, okay, I'm now going to switch over to this screen, which should be linked to screen sharing. And look at that, I have an unlimited portal. That's cool, isn't it? Look at that. Ooh. So I have this trailer here. The Odyssey, but historically accurate armor, Bronze Age. And I am curious to know. Well, I'm going to run through this, give my thoughts. I'm going to open your guys' chat on my phone here so I can at least read them still. So, I have some thoughts off the bat here. So we can see, please, in here. This is what I really want to talk about. Agamemnon. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go back. Let's start with these dendropanoply, please. There's this idea that, well, first of all, I think it's important to note this armor itself, the actual dendropanoply find, is dated earlier than the Trojan War. Well, the believed date of the Trojan War. So this armor itself is dated to around 1400 BC. The Trojan War itself and the Odyssey is thought to have taken place around 1200 BC or slightly later than that. So it is arguably not correct to have the dendropanoply represented here, especially in this high number. Basically, this trailer, which again I have seen before, shows all footmen, all men of all different social statuses wearing this dendropanoply, which is not correct. This would have been an incredibly aristocratic, incredibly expensive armor. Would definitely not have been seen very commonly. And something that's interesting is, of course, Homer describes Odysseus as having a boar tusk helmet, or at least a boar tusk helmet being in the, I believe it's in the Iliad, he describes this, but he also mentions that it's an heirloom, which would indicate that it's also not quite to date for the Siege of Troy. But there are similar Mycenaean armors in that time period, the later Bronze Age, that would be fitting. But where everyone's saying that everyone should be in dendropanoply, there's an argument to be made no, because it is again a couple hundred years actually before that, at least this specific one. Let's see here. So just going through your comments. Sorry, I have you guys on my phone, man. This feels very small. Yeah, now the documentary saved to watch later. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. 200 is older, yeah. So the dendropanoply again is about 1400-ish BC. Troy is typically dated to around 1200 BC. Yeah, so they could still have dendropanoplies. It is possible, or at least similar styles, but we're a little bit left in the dark. By the way, Dendro is a chariot armor, not foot soldier. See, I'm not necessarily convinced by that. I think that historians have a very, very common trend of labeling things that they deem as impractical as ceremonial or as chariot armors. There have been people who have recreated this armors and have demonstrated very, very well that this could have been used by footmen. So I'm not necessarily convinced personally that this is only a charioteer armor. I think this is very much possible to have been fought with by spearmen on the ground. And I'm leaning to the fact that I think that just the archaeologists were wrong because they have this idea. And even today, I'm going to do a video on this as well. Lots of historians and archaeologists, and I address this in my article for Ancient Warfare, make a lot of assumptions about armor without being well versed enough in the armor. And I think that dendropanoply, in my personal opinion, has fallen victim to that a little bit. Let's see, where are we? But anyways, so that's my thing. So like Bortos comics and stuff like that, think of the wealth of how many boars have to be killed. So it's an aristocratic thing, hunting. Most people wouldn't be wearing that. But you then have like the warrior vase and stuff like that, which show somewhat similar armors, but also a little bit different. But the Dendro Panoply is technically, I would say, a little bit too early for that. And Homer even says that in the Iliad, at least the Bortos comet is an heirloom. So something interesting there, I think, just that is worthy of pointing out, because I'll tell you what I think I would have loved to have seen for the Odyssey as we make our way through this video. But either way, what we got for freaking Agamemnon from Nolan is an abomination. It is awful. It is so bad, and it looks so cringy, to be quite honest. It looks like Batman. It looks like Black Noir from The Boys. It is really genuinely a terrible costume. And all the Nolan fans like to make all the arguments of, oh, I hope the Cyclops is historically accurate. Yeah, but you do realize that the Cyclops is in the original Odyssey, right? Like, I always find that argument so funny. It's like, yeah, I don't have a problem that the mythological creature in the epic poem is in the retelling of the epic poem, you know? But that doesn't mean that it's no longer set in a historical time period. So that just because there's a mythological element doesn't mean that you then have it's completely okay to represent the entire world that myth is set in incorrectly. And even still, I find this ridiculous. And this is one of the things I find so funny. If Nolan had made a decision to go with Bronze Age armor, I almost guarantee that these people would be defending it and saying it's the coolest thing ever. But because he didn't, it's suddenly outrageous for people to be upset with the costume choices. This is pretty much objectively cooler than Batman Agamemnon that we got, Magneto from ancient Greece. This looks far cooler. The stature is way more intimidating. Horned helmets, Hollywood. You could have done it, but you didn't. This is far cooler, in my opinion, and I think most people do. It represents the wealth and status and looming, King of Kings vibe far more than the black 3D printed looking Batman stuff. So I think this is a far better choice for Agamemnon. For the armors in general, and something else that I've had people tell me is the armor in the Odyssey is all brown and black because it's meant to be telling of the story that Odysseus goes through. But the problem is his armor stays like that throughout the whole span of the film, as we see in the trailer. And a movie that actually does this really, really well shows the armor of the main character changing as the movie goes on is 300. 300 starts with Leonidas' armor being intact and actually looks like metal, which is something that, I wished that the Odyssey's armor was. And as the Battle of Thermopylae goes on, his armor gets progressively more damaged and destroyed. I think that'd be really, really cool if the Odyssey started with, King Odysseus having nice armor, and maybe red or purple clothes or whatever, as he probably would be wearing, some bright, vibrant color. And as he goes on this treacherous Odyssey, his armor could get dirtied and his clothes could stain to brown and his armor could get damaged and oxidized. And you could have an actual really cool visual component of the armor representing the state that they are in as he goes through the Odyssey. But instead, it stays the exact same all the way through. Okay, let me check the comments here. Let's see what we've got. Yeah, I just want to see shiny bronze, not dull drab. And that's the thing, right? Is why do people think that historical armors don't look cool? Like, have you seen an ancient Greek hoplite? That looks freaking epic. Like, I always find it so funny where it's like, oh, it's either go this way or go the historical way and no one would watch the film. Why? Who would not watch a film because the director decided to make an armor accurate? And again, I would argue that Nolan's film would be far better received, and how cool it would be if he went, I am filming on location in Greece, and I am going out of my way to try and make the material culture of the world accurate. Everyone would be praising Christopher Nolan. Everyone. Christopher Nolan goes so much far as a film director. Christopher Nolan takes filming seriously. He's filming on-site and with accurate stuff. But instead, it's no one likes seeing accurate stuff on screen. Who would see this as Agamemnon This looks like a freaking Hollywood armor, anyways. Who would see this and go, that looks absolutely ridiculous? Gosh, Christopher Nolan, why did you do that? Like, this looks cool. This looks cool, and it was somewhat real, you know. Like, I always find that argument so bizarre. Um, but yeah, anyways. Going through here. Yeah, I know some people aren't a fan of the casting. I haven't really looked at the casting, but I know it looks like a Marvel film, which is kind of interesting. But at the same time, I'm not going to shame the actors just yet. Um, I'm sure that they will play their parts well. At least I hope so. Nolan's costumes were designed by Games Workshop. Yeah, yeah. Batman 40,000 BC. Yeah, it's or Warhammer 40,000 BC. Yeah, it's just disappointing. That's what I would describe it as. It's just disappointing. And again, I'm not asking for 100% accuracy. And it's so funny because all the people who, well, not all of the people, a lot of people who watched my last video talking about this, I don't think watched the video because I think I actually take a more middle ground stance than a lot of history people do. And yet they're strawmanning my video like crazy, saying that I'm wanting full accurate danger penalties, blah, 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 blah. I've never once asked this. And in fact, I think that him going with the decision of making the armor resemble the archaic and classical hoplite is a perfectly acceptable artistic choice. The ancient Greeks depicted these heroes in these armors. It's a far more iconic looking armor. I have no problem with that at all. The difference is he just did that very poorly. You know, the armors and stuff like that just look like, here we go, an armor that will fade into forgetfulness as soon as the movies come out because of how bland and Hollywood basic it looks. I would have loved to have seen classical-ish looking hoplites or archaic looking hoplites in here, which look freaking awesome, by the way. One of the coolest armors in all of history. Definitely look cooler than what the Odyssey shows us. I'm not asking for Mycenaean Dendra armors or anything like that. I just think that it would have been so much better. Have some color in there. Again, have that color. You know, they're hopeful. They've ended Troy. They're leaving. And then as the journey gets treacherous and treacherous, you can have all their clothes and armor get soiled and stained and bloodied and everything like that. It could be a really good visual storyteller. And more realistic and respectful of the real historical culture that existed in this mythological poem. Just because it's a mythological poem doesn't mean that history is out the window. You know, that's one of the biggest arguments that I never understand. They always say it like a big checkmate. I hope that the Cyclops is accurate. What, you mean the Cyclops that's in the myth? You know, that would be like saying someone who's doing a documentary on the Bible. Or there's loads of you know, mythological elements of the Bible. So we're not going to actually depict the time period of the Bible correctly in our mini-series on the Bible. You don't think that the material culture and the time period and the setting of the Bible is kind of important for the storytelling narrative of the Bible? I would say the same thing with the Odyssey. You know, it's just so disappointing, and it's so bland, and it's so typical Hollywood to go for it. And again, it's not even accurate. Remove the historicity out of the equation. Let's just say that the Odyssey is a purely fictional work. They've still done a poor job at representing those characters on the screen. You know, if some characters in purely fictional works people get upset at because their movie form adaptation isn't good. Let's look at The Last of Us. Loads of people were up in arms about the casting of the Last of Us TV show because she doesn't look very much like the character from The Last of Us. I never played The Last of Us. I never watched the show either. That's a purely fictional character. So even if the Odyssey was completely fictional, not rooted in this time period, but Homer gives these descriptors of, you know, what these characters look like, the Odyssey movie has just done a poor job regardless at representing those characters. So you can even remove the historical argument out of the equation completely. It's still a poor visual adaptation of the source material. Anyways, let's go ahead and do the rest of this. So again, like, that looks really cool. You know, again, not everyone will be in these armors, but that, and when you see that image, I can see why some people don't want full Dendra Planet, please. Okay, it's probably bulky for some of the stunts that they want to do in the films. and stuff like that. But just imagine this, even keep the armors the same that they're wearing in the original trailer, but add that coloration to it. Do you not think that the film would look far more visually striking and cool? Like, why is brown and black cooler looking than polished bronze and reds and colors and stuff like that? I just never understood it. They've changed it to a trireme here. Of course, the movie using um, Viking ships sparked some controversy, and I previously made fun of it. The difference is, of course, they've conflated the period. So, in the time of the Odyssey, the trireme wasn't a thing, right? And the ships far more resembled Viking Age longships, not completely, but far more resembled it. But because they then went for the more classical look, the ship seems out of place, in my opinion. And it would have looked really cool. You know, like the ships that they used in Troy, the 2004 movie, looked pretty solid. I really liked how they looked. So they've replaced it here with triremes, or this is more of a monoreme, but still pretty cool. That guy on the horse, I don't understand how that would be deemed as looking stupid and ridiculous on the screen. I think that that's really, really cool. And I think a lot of people, that looks like armor that you'd find in a video game, for example. And people love video game armors. So I don't understand really the whole idea of if the armor is accurate or somewhat faithful to being accurate, it looks silly. I really don't understand that. Like that shot, unironically, looks way cooler with this armor than what it did before. And they always use the argument of they need the armor to show the face, then give him a Bortosk helmet and it shows the face. Or give him an Illyrian helmet or a Chalcidian helmet or something that can still show the face. You don't have to do what they've done, which is just it does look really bad. And it's funny because I've even talked to my friends and my family about this who aren't nearly as passionate or even at all passionate about ancient Greek history. And they've just said, oh, when they see the Batman thing, that just looks terrible. And it's like, yeah, you're trying to make a film that is a historical epic. And you have chosen an armor that feels like it's walked fresh off of a modern movie set. Just from that lens alone, I would say it's a poor costuming choice for the setting of the Odyssey and the feel of the Odyssey. I've even had some people tell me that this is such a deliberate and intelligent choice in the behalf of Nolan that my brain couldn't possibly understand because he's a genius filmmaker and I'm not. That is him deliberately modernizing and choosing to represent the armor in a way that modern people understand because ancient artists did that. And you know what I say is, well, how come he originally got in contact with Hellenic armors then to try and go the historical accurate route? I don't think that's true. Now, sharing some inside knowledge here, I don't think that falling out is entirely on Christopher Nolan. Hellenic armors, from all the people that I know who have tried to work with him, has been very, very difficult to work with. He doesn't really take creative disagreements very well. He thinks that he is the best and the only one that can really, he let's just put it this way: he's difficult to work with, and I think that if Nolan wanted him to do certain things creatively and he disagreed, I don't think that that's purely on Nolan. I think it's a little bit of both there. But even still, he originally got in contact with someone to create accurate armors and then decided no. So I don't think that was a sudden change of heart. I think that he was originally wanting to go for the historical armors, and then whether he or someone else on the creative team then decided to go for the Hollywood ones. And the Agamemnon Batman looking one is so out of place for the setting. He genuinely feels like a Hollywood superhero villain, or like Ares from Wonder Woman would look like that. And the other armors that Odysseus wears and stuff like that, the actual structure of them isn't that bad. It's not amazing, but it isn't that bad. There's some armors that definitely resemble bell cuirasses. The helmets resemble Chalcidian and Corinthian helmets, but it's just the coloration and the choices. It would have genuinely looked so much cooler if it was like this. Like, look at that shot and tell me that would look cooler, or that does look cooler with the Odysseus and all of his blacks and browns. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Yeah, some people say uncomfortable looking. Again, it might look uncomfortable, but people have recreated these practically, and they can do a lot of stuff in them. I often say that the Dendra panoply looks quite crude, but also is incredibly ahead of its time, and it is basically full plate. Well, maybe not basically full plate, but it's very sophisticated armor for the period. But anyways, let's continue looking through this, and then I can resume chatting to you guys about them all in the bigger screen. That looks really freaking cool. That looks so cool. You see the Cyclops walking in there with all these things, and the lighting as well, like with the warm fire reflecting off of the bronze. Visually, it looks more striking with this AI-made trailer, and I think that that is disappointing. Again, that's sort of how I would describe this. It's just disappointing that they went for the creative choice of filming on site. I've been in this cave, by the way. This is Nestor's cave. This is in Pylos. Cool cave to go into. They filmed on site as much as they could. They filmed on the open water as much as they could, and yet they've gone with the most bare bones armors. Just forget the Dendra planet, please. Just put this bronze style armor on the main guys, and again, have them get dirtied and destroyed as they go through the Odyssey. It'd be far cooler, in my opinion. Again, all of them in Dendra planet, please, is a little ridiculous, but anyways. Like, the atmosphere is not lost at all by having this reflecting polished bronze. And you can still see the faces so well. Like, this armor feels almost like it is a fantasy armor, you know? Okay, that actually looks super cool. So there we go. That's my response to that. Let's switch back to this screen so I can see all of you guys. So again, I don't necessarily think that the Dendra Panoply is the best choice to go on. Again, it does predate the Odyssey by about 200 years, at least the one that they base all of the Dendra Panoply reconstructions on. But we do have some descriptions, of course, by Homer of what characters are wearing, what Agamemnon's wearing, what Odysseus is wearing, and stuff like that. But absolutely fine, I think, to go for the archaic and classical choice for armors. But they did it so poorly. They did such a bad job with the armors that it just genuinely looks so ridiculous. Let's see here. Like the Odyssey, can't freaking spell. The Odyssey armor. I'll share my screen in a second. Like the fact that pretty much every other film, like actually here's another example that I'll give. Let me share my screen again. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, okay, a video game, happens to have Odyssey in the title. Video game set in ancient Greece. The armors are very fantastical. The armors are, not very realistic at all. But they do I think, a pretty decent job at capturing the ancient Greek feel, as well as creating something that is epic or fantasy looking, but by keeping to the original, source material. Like, this is very clearly Greek, but with a bit of added flair. And I think that the Odyssey, like Agamemnon, give him a helmet like this if you really want to make him look dark and evil, but that's still very clearly Greeky, as opposed to this. That's an Instagram link, so it's blurry. This just looks so ridiculous. It looks so ridiculous. The crest is as thick as his freaking neck is. He looks like the handsome Squidward meme. Like it looks genuinely ridiculous. Genuinely ridiculous. Give him something like this. At least that still captures the essence of the ancient Greek armor, but is creatively different and more fantasy looking. But that still very much feels ancient Greeky. That's what I mean. Like, that's all I'm asking for. I understand why some people don't want the purely historically accurate armors. I understand why people do as well. But like again, I would be perfectly happy if they decided to do something more. Like, just look at that. It's just boring. It's just so boring and bland and black and dull, as opposed to like make Odysseus look like this. You know, like that still at least feels Greek and looks cool. It looks 10 times better than this junk. You know, like just or even keep the fundamental armor components, but make them actually look like metal instead of this stuff, and make his cloak a color and stuff like that instead of just this washed over brown mess. Is really what it is. Yeah, or make them look like archaic hot plates. Like you're telling me that archaic hot plates don't look cool. Let me see here. Like, here's a picture of me in my archaic panoply. I'll send in these to Ancient Warfare. That's why I have loads of them in my downloads. Tell me that this isn't a really cool looking armor design. You know, I think that this is like 10 times cooler than what Odysseus is actually wearing in the Odyssey. But anyways, apparently having a historically accurate or somewhat historically accurate armor is just awful. So, anyways, back to this chat here. I'm sorry, I've been very, very bad at answering questions. I'm actually going to run and turn a light on because the sun decided to go away. So I'll be right back. There we go. Now you can probably see me a little bit better. Look at that. There you go. You're welcome. So let me go here. I'm sorry that I've missed a lot of chats. I've been in rant mode. Was bronze armor ever painted? Almost certainly yes, and not universally, but we have a lot of evidence suggesting for painted armor. I actually have a video on painted armor if you are interested, with some examples and stuff like that as well. Yeah, that's true. I might be a bit odd for this, however, I thought that it was fairly strange that they wore pants in the trailer. I noticed that as well, like pants or trousers. They wore what it looks like black joggers underneath the armor, which is really very barbarian of them. Very, very weird creative choice. And again, of course, they're black. Because why not? Why does historically accurate armor look so much better than fantasy armor? I agree. I think it looks way, way better than fantasy armor. And I think it's because it actually existed, therefore it actually worked, but it still looks cool. You know, like at least for me, when I look at lots of these armors and I see something that's just genuinely really impractical looking, it takes me out of the realism. You know, it's just like, that's not believable. And something else, actually, I'll talk about as well. Do you know a film series that is very loved by all people is called The Lord of the Rings? You might have heard of it before. And The Lord of the Rings does a very good job at making its own armors. However, do you know one of the films that has one of the most universally praised armor designs? The Lord of the Rings. They did a very, very good job at making fantasy armor that is based on real armors, based on real cultures, and actually felt and functioned like real armor, except for when the main characters cut through it, of course. No one doesn't watch The Lord of the Rings because The Lord of the Rings has more realistic looking armors. Or the elves are wearing bronze instead of brown. Disgusting. So yeah, I never understand the argument. Never really understood that argument at all. At all. But anyways, that's just me. Let's see. Let me scroll up the chat here and see what other people was. I think Nolan's rationale for the design was ancient heroic myths equals modern superheroes. Yeah, but then the thing is which is offensive, frankly. Yeah, I can see, and again, that's something I can see why people are genuinely upset by this cultural butchering of it as well. You know, this does not resemble the culture really at all. But my biggest thing is that it's only really Agamemnon that feels like the superhero thing. So he isn't even necessarily a hero in that sense. He's typically taking up the antagonist role in a lot of things. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. It is just a little bit disappointing, a little bit disappointing, or a lot disappointing. Yeah. Yeah, the armor they used, except for that helmet, looks fine, but I agree they should have used way more color. Yeah, or let me see if I can even find there's an image that I've seen of, I think it's Tom Holland in the Odyssey. Yeah, here it is here. It's an Instagram link, so it's blurry. Facebook, that's also blurry. Why? He's wearing something that basically looks like a Belcrest. No, sorry, you're just going to have to deal with slightly blurry. Slightly blurry. Is that sharing mode? There we go. Like this, you know, it looks a little bit odd, but it does look Belle Cuirass-like. It does look Belle Cuirass-like. If that was just in, you know, bronze, it doesn't have to be polished, like mirror polished bronze. If that was just in bronze, I just think that would look genuinely so much better. Genuinely so much better. Yeah, the Rohan had cool Saxon-inspired armors. Absolutely. Well, basically every single Lord of the Rings faction, culture, whatever, was inspired by a real one, right? You had the Gondorians were very much sort of 15th century Italian inspired. The Rohirrim were very Saxon England inspired. The elves were quite Hellenic inspired. The Nazgul and Sauron is very German Gothic inspired. Even the Uruk-hai armors, lots of them are somewhat like in the Fellowship of the Ring, they're more sort of Germanic. But in Two Towers, when they're raiding Helm's Deep, their armor looks somewhat Romanesque, but even still, it's like pretty good plate armor. I forget what they're called, but are they just called the Eastmen? The guys that ride the Oliphants, they're, you know, sort of Persian-y inspired. And that armor is one of the best film armors that I've seen, and no one once complains because it somewhat resembles real armors, which is what I was being told people would do. But yes, yeah, I love your content. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Bobby Joe Jeff. Yo, I finally made it. Bobby Joe Jeff has been my longest channel member. Is it 3 years now? He's a friend of mine as well. And he has never been able to make a live stream. So I think for that, it's time to end it. No, just kidding. But anyways, yes. So what do you guys think about this take? And again, I will actually be doing another proper video as opposed to a live stream on this topic as well, reacting to that trailer. But I was like, you know what? Let's chat it through with the gang. But yeah, I just think it's really disappointing. That's how I would describe it. Disappointing. So far we're in the right direction in some areas. Filming on site, filming for real. Really, really cool. Really, really like that. But then you've completely gone the botched route when it actually comes to what these people look like. And I really don't know why. I really, really don't know why. But yes, anyways. So I am going to be going to see the Odyssey. And you will very much hear my thoughts after I see the Odyssey. But overall, yeah, I hope that the film's still good. I overall do like Christopher Nolan as a director. I don't like all of his films, but a lot of his films I do really, really like. But yeah, I don't know. I think he missed the mark with the visuals here. And some of the cinematography looks really cool, but then it's ruined by, you know, gingerbread men looking colored hot flies. Within the trailer, some characters and clothing remind me of Metal Rocker. Yeah. Sleeve the jacket's black, especially as they're also all wearing pants, as one of you guys pointed out as well. Yeah, it just looks odd. And again, I would just make the argument that it doesn't quite, especially the Agamemnon armor, it just doesn't fit the atmosphere, the setting of that epic poem. It just doesn't do a very, very good job for me, and I think a lot of people, and even people, again, who aren't even really well-versed or care particularly about ancient Greek history, even they've told me it just feels too modern. And I would agree, very much agree. But yeah, anyways, it is what it is. We can be disappointed. The Nolan fans will continue to hate and strawman my videos, which is always fun. But anyways, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. We had a nice chat, a little bit of a catch-up, and then the Odyssey. So we've been live for 1 hour and 12 minutes. I think I'm going to call that a night or a late afternoon. Thank you so much for popping in for this stream. It has been great to catch up with everyone and share all of our ideas and everything. And videos will be back being released this coming week. So thank you very much. Sorry again that I have been absent. I hope that you enjoyed this chat. Thanks so much. And I will catch you at a later date. And hopefully live streams will become more common again. So thanks very much. Have a great night, afternoon, evening, morning.